My sister told everyone the $24,000 haunted house I built by myself was her 12-year Halloween tradition, and even invited the mayor. I took it back, but what my mom said after that hurt the most. You know that feeling when a betrayal cuts so deep it rips through not just your heart, but your child's too? Well, for years, I let my family walk all over me, take my money, and shatter my peace, until one devastating birthday party forced me to draw a line in the sand, a line that would change absolutely everything. I was putting the finishing touches on Mila's 9th birthday party, tying one last pink balloon to the fence post. The backyard looked absolutely magical, if I do say so myself. 9 pink place settings on the picnic table, each napkin folded into a perfect little crown. And that bounce house? A $275 splurge that made my credit card sigh, but it stood there, proud and inflated, its princess turrets gleaming under the October sun. Mila's favorite pixel princess cake sat on the dessert table, 9 candles at attention. Perfect, I whispered, though nobody was around to hear. I glanced at my watch for what felt like the 100th time. 11:42 a.m. Mom and my sisters should have been here by now. They'd promised, like they always did, to come early and help set up. And just like always, that promise had evaporated like morning dew. The sliding glass door squeaked open behind me, and Mila burst into the yard. She was twirling in her brand new purple birthday dress, her royal color, sparkling in the sunlight. Mom, is it time? Is it time? She bounced on her toes, then suddenly froze. Her bright eyes darted around the empty yard, searching, desperately searching for faces that weren't there. Where's Grandma? And Aunt Savannah and Aunt Lacey? Are they bringing Tyler? Did they see the bounce house yet? I forced a brittle cheer into my voice. They're on their way, sweetie. Probably just running a little late. Mila's face fell for just a second, a flicker of crushing disappointment, before she quickly plastered her smile back on. Okay. I'm gonna watch for them from the front window. She dashed back inside, and I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted copper. I should have known better. I really should have. A moment later, the doorbell chimed, and I heard Mila's excited shriek from inside. I hurried around the house, my heart thumping with a mix of hope and dread, only to see my daughter's face utterly collapse as she opened the door. It was just Aunt Carol, standing there with a wrapped present tucked under her arm. Happy birthday, sweet pea, Carol said, stooping to hug Mila. My daughter hugged her back, but her eyes were already peering around Carol's shoulder, scanning the empty driveway. Is Grandma coming with you? Carol straightened up, her eyes meeting mine over Mila's head. I saw a flash of something like anger cross her face, but then she smiled down at Mila. I came on my own today, honey, but look what I brought you. She handed Mila the gift, wrapped so beautifully with a bow that must have taken 20 minutes to perfect. That's Aunt Carol for you, always thinking about the details. Thank you, Mila said, her voice small now, barely a whisper. She clutched the package to her chest and looked back at me. Mom, can I put this with the other presents? Of course, baby, I said, my throat tight. The party's already out back. As Mila disappeared into the kitchen, Carol stepped inside and closed the door. Eleanor and the girls aren't coming, are they? She asked, not bothering to whisper. My phone buzzed in my pocket before I could even answer. I pulled it out, already knowing what I'd see. Don't be dramatic. It's just a kid's party. We'll make it up to her at Christmas. My mother's words burned on the screen. Just a kid's party. Just my kid's party. I'm guessing that's your answer, Carol said, watching my face harden. She squeezed my arm. I'm sorry, Maya. The doorbell rang again, saving me from having to respond. Soon, parents started dropping off classmates. 8 little girls in party dresses, bearing gift bags and birthday cards. My neighbor from across the street arrived with folding chairs and a cooler of juice boxes. Mrs. Wilson, from 2 doors down, brought an extra tray of finger sandwiches and a deeply sympathetic smile. For the next hour, I moved through the party like I was underwater, taking pictures, serving cake, supervising the bounce house. But through it all, Mila kept looking toward the gate. Her eyes would light up every time it opened, then dim when another classmate arrived instead of her grandmother. When are Grandma and Aunt Savannah and Aunt Lacey and Tyler coming? She asked, for what might have been the 10th time, tugging at my shirt as I refilled the snack bowl. I'm not sure, sweetie, I said, smoothing her hair. But look at all your friends who came to celebrate with you. She nodded and ran back to the bounce house, but the slump in her small shoulders told me everything. This wasn't the first time my family had let her down, and something in her 9-year-old heart knew it wouldn't be the last. My mind drifted to last Christmas, when I'd maxed out my credit card buying gifts for everyone, $8.40 worth of presents I couldn't afford, because family matters. 3 months ago, I covered Savannah's salon rent when she came up short, $1,650 that I've never seen again and probably never will. Maya can handle it, they always said. She's good with numbers. Good with numbers, as if that somehow translated to having extra money. Ever since Dad walked out when I was 20, Mom had treated me like an ATM with legs. You're the head of this family now, she declared the day after he left, as if his departure promoted me to his position of financial provider. My phone pinged with a new notification. I glanced down and my stomach curdled. Savannah had posted on Instagram a photo of her, Mom, Lacey, and Tyler raising mimosa glasses at some fancy brunch spot downtown. The caption read, "Family first. Family first. Right. Mom? Mom?" Mila's voice broke through my thoughts. She was standing by the present table, surrounded by her friends, ready to open gifts. I tucked my phone away and plastered on a smile. Coming, birthday girl. The girls clustered around as Mila tore into her presents. She thanked each friend with genuine delight. But when all the gifts were opened, she looked up at me, her voice trembling slightly. Did Grandma forget my birthday? The question stabbed straight through my chest. I opened my mouth, searching for words that wouldn't come, when Aunt Carol stepped in. Your grandma has a terrible memory sometimes, she said, winking at Mila. But that just means you might get a surprise another day. Mila brightened a little at this possibility, and the moment passed as the girls rushed back to the bounce house for one last jump. Carol squeezed my hand. This isn't right, honey. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. When the last classmate had gone home, I retreated to the kitchen with a stack of plates, letting silent tears fall as I washed each one. Through the window, I could see Aunt Carol helping Mila test out her new sidewalk chalk, their heads bent together over a rainbow taking shape on the driveway. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom. Need $350 for a family emergency. Can you transfer it today? The plate in my hands cracked as I gripped it too tightly. I stared at the message. At the timestamp, 3:48 p.m. Right in the middle of the party, she couldn't be bothered to attend. Something inside me broke, too. A dam I'd been patching for years. I set down the broken pieces, dried my hands, and stared at the message a moment longer. The time for tears was over. A week later, my phone buzzed against the kitchen counter while I was making Mila's lunch. A peanut butter sandwich cut into triangles, apple slices arranged in a smile, and a note with a little heart. Small gestures to show her she matters. The phone buzzed again. And again. The family group chat. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and picked it up, my stomach already tightening. 1 week since Mila's birthday disaster, and I'd barely heard a word from any of them. The screen lit up with my mother's message. Exciting news. Savannah's Sweet 16 venue is confirmed. $1,850 per guest with Maya covering Grandma's share since she's on fixed income. Details attached. I nearly dropped my phone. Sweet 16? Savannah is 26 years old. Mom means sweet 26, Lacey clarified in the next message. Theme is second chance at Sweet 16, since her real one was at the VFW hall. My fingers trembled as I opened the attached PDF. There, printed in glossy color, was a sponsorship page with my LinkedIn profile picture prominently displayed under Platinum Sponsor, Maya Allen. I bit back the word, aware of Mila's small footsteps padding down the hall. Another text arrived from Lacey. Maya, you're the accountant. Just handle the deposit. Deadline this weekend. Not a request. A command. Mom? Mila appeared in the doorway, a Lego piece in hand. Can you help me with the spaceship? "In a minute, sweetheart." My voice sounded strange, distant even to my own ears. I watched her shuffle back to her room, shoulders slumped in that way that was becoming too familiar. Just like at her birthday party. Just like every time my family made promises they never kept. After Mila's door clicked shut, I sat at the kitchen table and opened my banking app. The balance stared back at me, $4,213.47. Every single penny earmarked for Mila's braces next month. On the counter sat the stack of medical bills from when she broke her arm 2 years ago. Insurance covered most of it, but the $1,200 deductible had cleaned out my emergency fund. I'd even sold Grandma Rose's silver ring, the only heirloom I own, to cover the emergency room visit. Grandma Rose, who taught me to balance a checkbook when I was 10. She'd be horrified to see how her daughter treated her granddaughter. My budget spreadsheet was open on my laptop, color-coded, precise to the penny. Rent, $1,025. Utilities, $187.32. Groceries, $420. Car payment, $315.76. After-school care, $240. The margins were thin, but we made it work. Our small 2-bedroom wasn't much, but I'd made it a home. Clean. Cared for. Safe. I scrolled through old Venmo requests from my family. Last month, $650 for Savannah's salon. Emergency. Month before, $420 for mother's new patio furniture. Christmas, $840 for family gifts. None repaid. None even acknowledged beyond a quick, "Thanks, sis" text. My mother, Eleanor, had perfected the art of financial manipulation. She wielded guilt like a credit card with no limit. "After all, I sacrificed raising you girls alone," she'd say, conveniently forgetting it was her constant spending that drove Dad away. Savannah, my youngest sister at 26, ran a salon that hemorrhaged money faster than she could highlight hair. Every crisis was an emergency requiring immediate funds. Every loan was just until next month, but somehow next month never came. Then there was Lacey, 24. Opportunistic and drowning in credit card debt from online shopping sprees she couldn't afford. Somehow, her financial problems always became my financial solutions. The doorbell rang, startling me out of my thoughts. "I've got it." Mila called, running to answer before I could stop her. I heard Aunt Carol's warm voice in the entryway. "Hello, sunshine. Is your mom home?" Carol stepped into the kitchen, arms loaded with a casserole dish. Her eyes narrowed at my expression. "What happened?" she asked, setting down the food. I wordlessly turned my phone toward her. She read the message, her mouth tightening into a thin line. "They've got some nerve," she muttered, sinking into a chair beside me. "After missing her birthday." "Oh, they didn't miss it," I said flatly. "They had brunch instead." I saw the Instagram post. Carol reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Your mother has always been like this, even when we were kids. But you don't have to keep playing along." A knock at the back door interrupted us. Mrs. Wilson, my 71-year-old neighbor, waved through the window. I gestured her in. "Brought you some banana bread," she said, then stopped, reading the room. "Bad time." "Family drama," Carol explained. Mrs. Wilson nodded knowingly. She'd been bringing me casseroles since Mila was born, offering wisdom without judgment. She saw how often I took time off work when family emergencies struck. Witnessed the parade of relatives asking for favors, but never returning them. "Your coworker, James, called," Mrs. Wilson said. "Something about covering your shift tomorrow if you need it?" "Said to tell you he's returning the favor." James. Always willing to swap shifts when Mother demanded my presence for some crisis. One of the few people who actually reciprocated. "Mommy?" Mila stood in the doorway, clutching a piece of paper. "Can I hang this on the fridge?" It was a school drawing labeled "My Family." Just 2 stick figures holding hands. Me and her. My throat tightened as I took the picture. "Of course, baby." While I was finding a magnet, I noticed the stack of thank you cards on the counter, handwritten by Mila herself for each friend who came to her birthday. Each one decorated with careful crayon stars. That night, after tucking Mila in, I passed her room and heard her small voice. God, please make Grandma like me more. Something in me shattered. Back at my laptop, I found an email I wasn't meant to see forwarded inadvertently by the hotel. The contract for Savannah's Sweet 16 was signed 3 weeks ago, before Mila's birthday. They'd known all along they wouldn't be coming. I opened a folder on my desktop and created a spreadsheet. Every Venmo request for the past 3 years. The total made me dizzy, $23,470. My calendar showed 14 vacation days taken for family events. Hospital visits when Savannah had minor surgery. Helping mother redecorate. Driving Lacey to job interviews she never showed up for. 0 days when any of them watched Mila while I worked overtime. I opened Facebook. Mother had posted a family photo with the caption, "So blessed with my girls." The picture had been cropped. I was standing at the edge, cut out completely. The anger rose in me. Not hot and explosive, but cold and clarifying. For the first time in years, I saw the pattern with perfect clarity. I picked up my phone and opened Venmo. The next day, I stared at the Venmo app on my phone, fingers poised above the screen as if disarming a bomb. The kitchen chair creaked beneath me as I straightened my shoulders. My mother's latest demand glared from my email inbox. $1,850 for Savannah's Sweet 16, with me covering Grandma's share since she's on a fixed income. As if my income stretched like carnival taffy. The audacity burned through me like acid. They skipped Mila's birthday to plan this extravagance. In the next room, I heard my daughter humming to herself, arranging her stuffed animals for a tea party. No cousins. No grandmother. Just fabric friends who never disappoint her. I tapped the screen and created a new payment. The recipient field filled with my mother's name. And I entered the amount, $1. In the memo line, I typed a single word, "Congrats." My thumb hovered over the blue payment button. One press and everything changes. I thought of Mila's face at her party. Watching the gate. Waiting for family who never arrived. I pressed send. The confirmation appeared instantly. I took a screenshot and saved it to a new folder on my phone labeled Boundaries. My lungs expanded fully for what felt like the first time in years. The kitchen walls seemed to widen around me. "Mom, can we have spaghetti tonight?" Mila called from the living room. "Absolutely," I answered. My voice steadier than it had been in months. By noon, I'd made 3 phone calls that should have happened years ago. The locksmith arrived at 2:15. A stocky man named Frank who whistled through his teeth as he replaced both the front and back locks. The invoice read $175, less than a single small favor my sisters typically requested. "All set, ma'am," Frank said, handing me 2 shiny keys. "No one gets in without these now." While Mila napped on the couch, I created a spreadsheet documenting every loan my family hadn't repaid over the past 3 years. The total made my stomach clench, $23,470. Enough for a decent used car. Or a year of community college. Or braces for Mila, with money left for a family vacation. My phone buzzed incessantly throughout the afternoon. I silenced it after the 20th text. Instead, I drafted an email to the hotel hosting Savannah's event, attaching screenshots of correspondence proving I never authorized using my name or business credentials as a platinum sponsor. The hotel manager responded within an hour, apologizing for the confusion and confirming my name would be removed immediately. By evening, Mila and I sat at our small kitchen table, twirling spaghetti and watching cartoons on the portable TV. She laughed at something silly on screen, tomato sauce dotting her chin. This is enough, I thought. We are enough. The doorbell rang at 8:47 p.m. Through the peephole, I saw my mother flanked by both sisters. Their faces were contorted with barely contained rage. "Maya Allen, open this door right now." My mother's voice carried easily through the wood. I stepped back as the pounding began. The new deadbolt held firm. "Is that Grandma?" Mila appeared behind me, her eyes wide. "Yes," I said calmly. But she forgot to call before coming over. "It's too late for visitors tonight." More banging. The doorbell chimed repeatedly. "You can't hide in there forever," Savannah shouted. "After everything we've done for you." My phone lit up with texts. "You're betraying this family." How dare you embarrass us with the hotel? What kind of daughter acts like this? Through the peephole, I watched Mr. Patterson from across the street step onto his porch, arms crossed. The Rodriguez family peered through their blinds. My family had become a spectacle, but for once, I wasn't scrambling to fix it. Should we let them in? Mila whispered, clutching my leg. No, honey. Remember our talk about people respecting our home? This isn't respectful behavior. The flash of police lights bathed the living room in blue. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course, they called the police. When I opened the door, Officer Thompson stood on my porch. I recognized him. He coached Mila's soccer team last spring. Evening, Miss Allen, he said, his expression professional but kind. We received a call about a family dispute, something about threats and a family heirloom being withheld. Behind him, my mother puffed up like a peacock. She's refusing to return property that belongs to our family, she announced, and she sent threatening messages. I felt Mila's small hands gripping the back of my sweater as she hid behind my legs, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. May I come in for a moment? Officer Thompson asked quietly. At my kitchen table, I showed him everything. The texts, the emails, the receipts, the screenshot of my $1 Venmo payment. I've been financially supporting them for years without repayment, I explained. I changed my locks today because I'm establishing boundaries. There are no heirlooms, no threats, just me saying no for the first time. Officer Thompson reviewed the evidence, his eyebrows rising occasionally. When he finished, he leaned back in the chair. They're used to you taking care of everything, he said. Now you're changing the rules. That's always hard for people to accept. He returned to the porch where my family waited, their certainty visibly diminishing as he spoke to them. Minutes later, they retreated to their cars, my mother's finger jabbing in my direction before they drove away. After checking the locks twice, I found Mila sitting on her bed, small legs dangling over the edge. Mom, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Am I not important enough? Is that why Grandma and my aunts didn't come to my birthday? The question knocked the wind from me. I knelt to meet her eyes, taking her small hands in mine. No, sweetheart, you are the most important thing in the world. That's exactly why I have to protect you from people who don't value us. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Another text from my mother. You'll regret this. Family is everything. I deleted it without responding and tucked Mila into bed, pulling her comforter up to her chin. It's just us two, I told her, smiling genuinely for the first time in days, and that's plenty. After she fell asleep, I checked my phone one last time. A text from Aunt Carol appeared. You did the right thing. They're furious, but truth is on your side. Another message from Mrs. Wilson next door. Those brownies cooling on my counter aren't going to eat themselves. You fought the right fight today. My coworker James, need extra shifts to rebuild savings? I can swap Tuesday for your Saturday. An email from Mila's teacher. She seems happier this week. Everything okay at home? I set my phone aside and breathed deeply. The house felt different tonight. Lighter somehow. As if the walls had stopped pressing inward. I'd been so focused on building a family that I never noticed a community forming around us, brick by brick, person by person. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, for once, I slept without the weight of impossible expectations crushing my chest. My phone buzzed at 6:30 a.m., jolting me awake before my alarm. I squinted at the screen, my stomach dropping when I saw Savannah's name. Not a text. A Facebook notification. Savannah Allen mentioned you in a post. I tapped the notification with my thumb, already knowing what I'd find. Her profile loaded, revealing a paragraph-long status update. When toxic people show their true colors, some folks pretend to care about family. Until they're asked to contribute. Then suddenly, they're too good for the rest of us. Guess money means more than memories to certain people. 17 comments already, most from extended family and high school friends I haven't spoken to in years. So sorry you're going through this, sweetie. Blood isn't always thicker than water. You're better off without negative energy in your life. I scrolled through the comments, each one a tiny needle. Nobody asking for my side. Nobody questioning why I might have sent that single dollar. Just the automatic assumption that I was the villain in this story. The bedroom door creaked open and Mila peeked in, hair tousled from sleep. "Mom? Are you okay?" I locked my phone and pasted on a smile. "Fine, sweetie. Just checking emails." She believed me, thank goodness, and padded back to her room. I waited until her door clicked shut before opening Facebook again, my finger hovering over the comment box. Paragraphs formed in my head, explanations, defenses, receipts, evidence stretching back years. Instead, I typed 5 words: "I wish you all well." Then I logged off, shut down the app, and slid out of bed. The kitchen felt different this morning. Lighter somehow, despite the social media assault. I poured cereal for Mila, made coffee, checked her backpack for homework. Normal routines that suddenly felt revolutionary without the weight of pending family demands. My phone rang while I was washing dishes, a number I didn't recognize, but the area code was familiar. I almost let it go to voicemail, then answered at the last second. "Maya? It's your Uncle Robert. My father's brother. A ghost from another lifetime." "Uncle Robert? I haven't heard from you since your high school graduation." "I know." His voice sounded older, rougher. "I heard what happened with Eleanor and the girls." My shoulders tensed. "How?" "Small town, plus your mother called me trying to recruit allies, I suspect." A dry chuckle rumbled through the speaker. "Thought you might like to know you're not the first person she's done this to." The dish I was rinsing nearly slipped from my fingers. "What do you mean? Why do you think your father left?" 20 minutes later, I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a photo Uncle Robert had texted me. Dad at my 5th birthday party. Eyes hollow, shoulders curled inward. The same expression I'd seen in my own mirror for years. History repeating itself, Uncle Robert had said. She drained him for years. Then she moved on to you. The doorbell interrupted my thoughts. I opened it to find Mrs. Wilson from 2 doors down, holding a casserole dish. "Chicken and rice," she said, pushing it into my hands before I could object. "The ladies from Street Marks will be by with more tomorrow." "Mrs. Wilson, that's really not, we've all been watching," she cut me off, her voice firm but kind. "Some of us have been exactly where you are. Family can be wonderful, or it can be quicksand." Before I could respond, she touched my arm. "There's a rotation of us keeping an eye out when certain cars drive by, just so you know." She left before I could thank her properly, the warmth of the casserole dish seeping into my palms. I placed it on the counter and noticed an envelope that must have been tucked underneath. Inside was a $200 gift card with a simple note, "For Mila's needs." No name, no strings attached. Just kindness without expectation of return. The contrast knocked the wind from me. I sank onto a kitchen chair, tears blurring my vision. These neighbors owed me nothing. We exchanged waves at mailboxes and occasional small talk about weather. Yet here they were, forming a protective circle while blood relatives waged digital war. That evening, after Mila was asleep, I pulled out my budget spreadsheet. For the first time in years, I recalculated without factoring in family emergencies. The numbers shifted before my eyes, revealing an extra $732 monthly that had been disappearing into the black hole of my family's demands. $732. Enough for Mila's braces, with some left over. Enough for the education account I'd been dreaming about since she started kindergarten. Enough for a modest vacation at the lake this summer, where she could make memories that didn't include waiting for relatives who never showed up. I stared at the numbers, my breathing growing steadier with each inhale. Then I opened a browser and researched savings accounts for education. 20 minutes later, I'd opened one in Mila's name with a small initial deposit. A start. A seed. The next morning, grocery shopping felt different. I studied prices out of habit, but realized I wasn't calculating each item with the razor-thin margins of before. At the checkout, I splurged on a bunch of tulips, $1.24 for no reason except they're pretty and would make our dining table cheerful. This small rebellion against scarcity brought a smile to my face that lasted all day. Saturday morning, Mila wandered into the living room while I was folding laundry. She was wearing her favorite pajamas, the ones with rainbows that were getting too small, but she refused to give up. "Aren't we going to Aunt Savannah's party today?" she asked, casual as can be. My hands froze mid-fold. "What?" "The Sweet 16 party." I saw it on your calendar before. She shrugged. Taylor from school is going. Her mom is friends with Grandma. The familiar guilt surged through me, bitter as copper. Should I reconsider? Am I being too harsh? The questions cycled through my head, old programming trying to reassert control. Then Mila added, I don't really want to go anyway. Those parties are boring. You have to wear itchy clothes and smile all the time. Decision made. How about we go to the park instead? The basketball courts should be empty this early. Her face lit up. Can we get ice cream after? Absolutely. Hours later, we were sitting in a booth at Dairy Dream, sharing a $7 sundae. Chocolate fudge dripped down Mila's chin as she giggled about beating me at horse. Her happiness was unfettered, genuine in a way I rarely saw at family gatherings, where she walked on eggshells, desperate for attention that never came. A woman at the next table smiled at us. Would you like me to take your picture? I hesitated, then handed her my phone. She captured us mid-laugh, ice cream and all, our faces pressed together. When she returned the phone, I studied the photo, messy, imperfect, radiantly happy. Nothing like the posed family portraits my mother insisted on each Christmas, where everyone held strained smiles and calculated positions. I like this way better than a fancy party, Mila declared, diving back into the sundae. So do I realized. So do I. My phone chimed with a text from Aunt Carol that night. I dried my hands on a dish towel and tapped the notification. You dodged a bullet, her message read. Sweet 16 disaster. Complete train wreck. I sank into a kitchen chair, torn between curiosity and relief. My thumb hovered over the call button, but Carol beat me to it. The phone rang and I answered. What happened? I asked, voice hushed so Mila wouldn't hear from her bedroom. Carol's laugh crackled through the speaker. Where do I start? They seated your mother next to the smoke machine. You know how her asthma acts up. She spent half the night coughing and complaining. Of course she did. I could picture her, dramatically waving her hand in front of her face, making sure everyone noticed her discomfort. Savannah fought with the DJ over every song. The poor man looked ready to unplug everything and walk out. Carol lowered her voice. And when the bill came, Eleanor's face turned whiter than that fancy tablecloth. Suddenly nobody could make eye contact. I wound the dish towel around my finger. How much was it? Let's just say they went way over budget without your platinum sponsorship. They kept glancing at the empty chair where you were supposed to sit. Like they'd saved a spot for your wallet. A small, vindicated smile tugged at my lips before guilt squashed it. I shouldn't be happy about their misfortune. It's not misfortune when you design a party around someone else's bank account, Carol said firmly. It's consequence. The next morning, I was organizing files at work when a shadow fell across my desk. I looked up to find my mother standing there, wearing her Sunday dress. We need to talk, she said, loud enough that my coworkers glanced over. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice level. This isn't appropriate, Mom. I'm working. She set her purse on my desk, covering the spreadsheet I'd been updating for the past hour. Family comes first. I stood, guiding her toward the break room with a light touch on her elbow. 10 minutes, I whispered. Inside, she launched into a speech about forgiveness and family duty that sounded rehearsed. I recognized pieces of Pastor Wallace's sermons woven throughout. Speaking of Pastor Wallace, she said, adjusting her pearl earrings. He called me after service today. He's concerned about our family division. Said reconciliation is God's way. I stared into my lukewarm coffee. Did you tell him why we're divided? She waved dismissively. Details don't matter when family is involved. They matter to me. That evening, an envelope was waiting in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a handwritten note read, Children need their grandmother. Think about what you're doing to Mila. The next day, Savannah's husband called. Just give them what they want, he pleaded. Peace is worth the money, Maya. Then came the Thanksgiving invitation. Cream cardstock with gold embossing. A handwritten note at the bottom. Water under the bridge, if you contribute $750 for the venue. I placed it on the counter beside Mila's school photo. Her smile had returned these past weeks, brighter than before. After tucking Mila into bed that night, I sat at the kitchen table with an old family photo in my hands. Christmas, 7 years ago. Dad was still with us then. Mom hadn't yet assigned me his financial responsibilities. We were all smiling, though I remembered the argument that erupted 10 minutes after this was taken when Dad questioned the credit card bill. My phone sat beside me, Mom's number highlighted. One tap would reconnect us. One call could smooth everything over. Just another check. Another withdrawal from my savings. Another promise I'd make to Mila that I'd have to break when their next emergency arose. Mila's voice echoed in my memory. Am I not important enough? I placed the old photo in a drawer and replaced it with her school picture. The girl with the confident smile deserved better than what I had. The next morning, I drafted a letter. Not an emotional plea, but a documented history. Every loan, every missed event, every broken promise, with dates and amounts. Terms for future contact laid out in clinical precision. Boundaries with consequences spelled out in language even Savannah could understand. I made copies. One for Mom. One for each sister. One for Pastor Wallace, with a cover note explaining the financial manipulation he'd been unknowingly supporting. The final sentence took me 3 attempts to write. This isn't about money. It's about respect. I signed each copy, slid them into envelopes, and sent them certified mail. 2 days later, a small envelope arrived, addressed to Mila. The return address belonged to Bethany Thompson, a classmate who couldn't attend her birthday party. Mila tore it open at the kitchen table, her eyes widening at the handmade card covered in glitter and stickers. Sorry I couldn't come. Happy 9th birthday, she read aloud. She tilted the card, and $3 bills fluttered to the table. A note explained, for ice cream. I'm saving up for a bike, but wanted you to have this. Mila handled the money like it was made of glass. Mom, can we get ice cream tomorrow? Of course we can. She carefully placed the card on our refrigerator, straightening it 3 times until it was perfect. This is the best card ever, she declared. I watched her skip off to her room, the $3 clutched in her hand. $3 from a child saving for a bike. Worth more than all the hollow promises my family ever made. The phone rang that evening. Grandma's number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but answered on the final ring. Maya, you need to fix things, she said without greeting. Your mother and sisters are fighting constantly since that letter arrived. About what? I asked, though I already knew. Money, what else? Your mother says Savannah pushed too hard with that Sweet 16 business. Savannah says Lacey promised you'd cover more than your share. They're all blaming each other for driving you away. I closed my eyes, familiar pressure building behind my temples. For a moment I was tempted to step in, to mediate as I'd always done. Instead, I took a deep breath. I'm not responsible for fixing adult relationships. But you've always been the sensible one, Grandma insisted. Yes, I said, watching Mila through her bedroom doorway as she arranged her stuffed animals for a tea party. That's why I'm making a different choice now. I balanced on a wobbly stepladder, roller in hand, as soft yellow paint transformed our living room wall. 2 months since I sent that $1 Venmo payment, and the world hadn't ended. In fact, it had gotten brighter, literally. Mom, you missed a spot. Mila pointed with her brush to a patch near the ceiling. Her purple t-shirt bore splatter marks like tiny yellow stars. Got it, eagle eyes. I stretched higher, rolling paint over the stubborn white square. What do you think? Better than the old beige. Way better, Mila said, attacking the baseboards with the focus of a surgeon. It's like sunshine inside. The front door opened, and James from work poked his head in, carrying a bookshelf under one arm like it weighed nothing. Special delivery, he announced. Where do you ladies want this? By the window, I said, climbing down. You didn't have to build it yourself. James shrugged. What else would I do with my weekends? Watch golf. His laughter filled our small house, a sound that once would have made me tense, expecting my mother's judgment about male visitors. Now I just smiled and helped him position the oak shelves where afternoon light would hit them. Later, Mila arranged her books by color while I stood back, admiring our handiwork. The calendar on the fridge caught my eye, movie night written in Mila's crooked handwriting for Friday, park day for Sunday. No family obligations, no emergency loans. The tension I'd carried in my shoulders for years had melted away, leaving room to breathe. Mrs. Wilson called, Mila said, carefully placing her Harry Potter collection on the middle shelf. She wants to know if I can come over tomorrow for knitting lessons. Do you want to go? Mila nodded, her eyes bright. She says I have natural talent. Then absolutely. I tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, leaving a smudge of yellow paint on her cheek. Sorry about that. She giggles, deliberately touching my nose with her paintbrush. Now we match. 2 weeks later, Mila stood in front of her third-grade class, holding a poster board titled, My Hero. Her teacher, Mrs. Langston, emailed me about the project, but I wasn't prepared for the lump in my throat when Mila unveiled her work. 2 stick figures held hands against a crayon sunset. Above them, careful letters spelled out, My mom taught me that love doesn't hurt. That evening, a note arrived from Mrs. Langston. Mila seems so much more confident these days. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. I placed the note on our refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a sunflower, right next to Mila's drawing. Christmas cards arrived, including one with my mother's handwriting. Inside, guilt dripped from every line. Families should be together during the holidays. We've all made mistakes. Savannah's text arrived next. I miss my niece. Tyler asks about her. Then Lacey emailed about a family healing retreat in Arizona. The price tag, $2,300 per person, made me snort coffee through my nose. I read each message twice, waiting for the familiar twist of shame and obligation in my gut. Nothing came. Just calm clarity as I typed a single response to all 3. We've moved forward. I wish you well. Our Christmas tree stood 4 feet tall in the corner, adorned with popcorn strings and ornaments Mila crafted at school. The presents beneath it weren't expensive, a new sketchbook, colored pencils, a telescope found at a garage sale, but they were wrapped with care, each tag written in my best handwriting. Mrs. Wilson brought apple cider. James arrived with a casserole that was more cheese than vegetable. Aunt Carol drove 3 hours to join us, bearing homemade cookies and genuine hugs. I brought something else, Carol said, handing me a leather-bound album. The first page read, Our Family of 2 in her elegant script. It's beautiful, I whispered, touching the embossed cover. Room to grow, she replied, nodding toward our guests laughing in the kitchen. January found me joining a support group for single parents at the community center. February had me volunteering at Mila's school once a month. Uncle Robert, Dad's brother, sent occasional postcards with encouraging notes from his travels. We were building something new, brick by careful brick. As another October approached, bringing Mila's 10th birthday, I planned a simple celebration. A picnic in the park. A homemade cake. Friends who actually show up. The mail brought a surprise, a card from my mother containing a crisp $50 bill with no strings attached. No demands. No guilt. Just happy birthday, granddaughter, signed in shaky script. I considered returning it, then slid it into Mila's birthday fund instead. Boundaries don't mean cutting people off entirely. They mean controlling the terms of engagement. Tonight, after Mila falls asleep, I sit at our kitchen table writing in the journal Aunt Carol gave me for Christmas. The words flow easily. Real family isn't defined by blood, but by the people who show up when it matters. I glance up at our wall, where a new photo hangs in a simple frame. Mila and me, flanked by Aunt Carol, Mrs. Wilson, James, and Uncle Robert at the park last weekend. Below it, a small wooden plaque reads, Our Family. The house is quiet except for Mila's peaceful breathing from the next room. I close my journal, feeling something I haven't felt in years. I feel home.